what we're dealing with today, the subject is both profoundly important and urgent. The Citizens United decision was not only counter to legal precedent, but I feel that it was un-American. As this is a country that has always stood out, as a beacon to the world. We are of, by, and for the people. And we were started in a protest really against the East India Corporation. So that the Founding Fathers envisioned that this would be governance where the power would come from individuals. That would be the foundation of governance, and then it would rise to the top, and those who governed would get their authority from individuals. And now the Supreme Court has really turned it upside down. In effect, it's given an opportunity to the wealthiest people in this country, who invariably are compensated through corporate entities, to determine the political makeup of our government. And when the Supreme Court passed this Citizens United case in 2010, a lot of people, in January 2010, a lot of people said, well, it may not be that big. Business Week had an article saying it's probably not going to have that much of an effect. But it had an enormous effect. About $300 million was pumped into campaigns across the country. A lot of congressional campaigns, but also gubernatorial and state legislative campaigns. The oil and gas industry is something that is apparent every single day of our lives, it would seem. And we're having to pay $4 a gallon in gas. We're wondering, where's all that money going? A great deal of it is going into profit. Unprecedented profit, really. And the five largest oil companies made over $30 billion in this last quarter. ExxonMobil just didn't pay tax, American corporate taxes. But where are they spending that money? Well, most of it they're spending on stock buybacks, which increase the wealth of the executives, because they're compensated with stock. So you buy back the stock, there's less of a supply out there, the stock per share goes up. And in stock dividends, which in a different way, taking advantage of the tax rate, 15%, benefits them as well. And then in sponsoring ads that we see from the American Petroleum Institute, to tell us that they're doing just the opposite, that they're using the money to, for exploratory drilling and the like. They're really not. How about looking at some of these so-called tax expenditures, benefits that the oil companies get? It's about $4 billion a year. Now, why are they getting that when they've got record profits? What's going on? How can you possibly justify those additional tax benefits that the American people are providing for? Well, we had a vote, and this vote that was elected in 2010, the majority of the Congress that was elected in 2010, refuses to pull back any of those tax benefits that the American public are providing oil companies. They might have made sense when oil was selling for less than $30 a barrel. It doesn't make any sense when they're getting more than $70 a barrel. So, where the reality is that this is going to come down to the political process. Now, as I said, Business Week didn't think it was going to have a profound influence. It had a profound influence, $300 million in 2010. But that was only the starting point. It's going to have such a greater, more profound influence on the 2012 election if we don't speak up. If we don't stand up for the vast majority of the American people. They're prepared to spend hundreds of millions of dollars. They'll funnel them through the Chamber of Commerce so they're not identified. They'll funnel them through, you know, all these different shell organizations that they've created. Some of the subsequent speakers will talk about the names, but the names don't really matter. They're shell groups. We know that. Some of them, not all of them, Republican Governors Association is pretty obvious. But they put them through those groups, and that's who sponsors the ads. But the Supreme Court has empowered the wealthiest corporations and individuals who run those corporations. The Koch brothers, for example, think about this. Last year, their wealth, David Koch's wealth, went from $16 billion to $23 billion. Combined, David and Charles Koch have more than $43 billion in wealth. I mean, that's, when we're cutting money for education and physical and mental health care and cancer research and public transit and, I mean, you name it, we're cutting it unless it's in defense or homeland security, or unless it's a tax expenditure that benefits corporations. So something's wrong. Our whole concept of who we are as a people, how we're supposed to function as a government, is turned upside down. It's going to stay that way until the American people stand up, speak out, and change it. And the only way we're going to be able to do it is in 2012. But we have got to know how strong is the opposition, how well armed they are, with enormous sums of money. The Koch brothers can spend a few $1 million on a referendum in California against emissions and save billions of dollars because of all the refining plants they have, all the oil distribution that they have. It's just unbelievable, the kind of return they can get by getting involved in the political process with a few $1 million. In that case, several tens of millions of dollars. But money shouldn't be determining the outcome of elections. The people should, their vote should, and that's what this is all about. So now we're going to sit down, we're going to listen to the expert, and we're going to have some Q&A. Thank you.